Chapter 7, Lesson 1, Congruence and Transformations. You will be able to use a series of transformations to create congruent figures. Two figures are congruent if the second can be obtained from the first by a series of rotations, reflections, and/or translations. Determine if the two figures are congruent by using transformations and explain your reasoning. So here we have two triangles. So I need to see if this triangle ABC is congruent to this triangle ZXY. So let's see. Let's take this triangle. And when we, actually let's leave it here. Let's go ahead and reflect this triangle. So there it is reflected. Okay. Then we can move it down and left. And as you can see, it completely covers the other triangle there. So in this case, yes, they are congruent. And here's how we're going to write it up. Yes, they are congruent because a reflection, reflection followed by a translation will map triangle ABC to triangle. Now here's the tricky part. I said ABC, so I need this other triangle to match my letters. For example, I used point A first, then B, then C. So I'm going to use the same order of letters. So Z, Y, X. Okay. Next one. Let's try and do the same thing. This looks like a nice, easy reflection. So let's reflect this. This one doesn't work. I mean, we can move it up, down. We can even try and rotate it. It will never match up to the shape. They're completely different shapes. Okay? So this one we are going to say that they are not congruent because no transformations will match the two figures up exactly. Okay, so let's see if we can map figure A to B. It looks like it did a reflection here, so let's reflect it. We reflect it, it would be about here. Okay, so reflect it, now let me translate it. It looks like it matches perfectly. So, yes, they are congruent because a reflection followed by a translation maps figure A to figure B. This one looks like it was rotated. So let's go ahead and rotate it. It also looks like it was reflected, so let's reflect it. Oops. I'm playing around with my reflections here. It doesn't look like, there we go. Alright, so here again, they're close, but this piece right here will not match up with this piece. So these ones are not congruent. And again, that's because no transformations will match the two figures up exactly. Determine the transformation. If you have two congruent figures, you can determine the transformation or series of transformations that map one figure onto the other by analyzing the orientation or relative position of the figures. So the translation, the length is the same and the orientation is the same. So A and B still appear to be in the same order. Now, in reflection, the length is the same, but the orientation is reversed. Okay, it looks like it's increasing, and then it looks like it's decreasing. The rotation, the length is the same, and the orientation is changed. So it's actually moved, it's rotated. So the A is in a different position when it is rotated. Ms. Martinez created the logo shown. What transformation did she use if the letter D is the pre-image, so this is the image we start with, and the letter P is the image? Are the two figures congruent? So let's take letter D. It looks like it was rotated. So let's go ahead and rotate this 90, 180 degrees. It would actually end up down here. So we rotate it 180 degrees. And then we translate up. And yes, they are congruent. So let's state what we just did here. Figure D was rotated 180 degrees and then translated up. Oops. Yes, the two figures are congruent. So here we're being a little bit more specific. We're specifying the degree of rotation and the direction of translation. What transformations could be used if the letter W is the pre-image and M is the image of the logo shown? Are the two figures congruent? So this one, let's see if we can do a reflection here. A reflection would bring it up here. We did a reflection over a horizontal line, and then we would translate left and down. Figure W was reflected over a horizontal line and then translated left and down. Yes, the figures are congruent. Hilda purchased some custom printed stationery with her initials. What transformations could she use if the letter Z is the pre-image and the letter N is the image in the design shown? Are the two figures congruent? Explain. Okay, so this one looks like, again, it was rotated probably just 90 degrees here. When we rotate 90 degrees, we would be here, sorry. There we go. And then we translate left and down, and it matches up perfectly. So let's write that out. Figure Z was rotated 90 degrees, then translated left and down. And yes, they are congruent. Triangle MNO is congruent to triangle RST. Which series of transformations maps triangle MNO to RST? So it looks like a reflection happened here, so let's go ahead and reflect this, which would bring it to about here. And then let's translate it left. And yes, it matches perfectly. So, which series of transformations? So we have triangle MNO was reflected over a horizontal line and then translated left. Yes, the figures are congruent. Oops, actually we didn't have to say that part. It already told us they were congruent. We're just looking for the type of transformations.